Welcome, welcome. I bid you come on in, enjoy, connect with us in the spaces. We hold space. I appreciate all them that listen to the videos, the regulars, that connect, send messages, even build relationships where we get on the horn and talk and talk about our truths and our experiences and what we're learning and how we're growing and how we can continue down the road we're on, or even make changes on the road we're on. And I appreciate you guys and thank you guys dearly for holding space with me. You guys shall be nameless, but you know who you are. Those, even many, were guests on here, and we will have another returning guest, but we will also have a new guest coming in very, very soon. As soon as they give me the word they're ready, we will do it. And we want to stay in the space and definitely want to keep just the growth and what's going on with our growth going, right? We just want to stay in those kind of spaces of growth and awareness, right? How did you like the last video on the baby, Elon's babysitter? Definitely something to put out and see there. Her experience that no one can totally verify or deny because it's her experience. If it's true, I'm not surprised. And if it's not, I'm not surprised. But doesn't mean I don't see, right? And some of the things said at the end just kind of don't surprise me with we know what's coming with that. It's been mentioned as being just a great deal. I'm not going to go into speaking about that. I want to share something good to you with finding out about history and some of the agendas that we've seen, that we've been told and taught through the years as being facts. And then you get in, especially with history, you go start getting 150, 125, 100 years ago in some agendas that were pushed. And then you have DNA coming, which says it's not true. And for those who hold fast to the DNA and don't fall, because it's easy to fall, a lot of the falling we see now has been that way. I've seen scientists kind of talking about this with knowing where funding comes through and what comes with funding, what you need to do, what to get funded, and not fight the dance. And so hold tough. Wrote books. I'm telling you, books after 1946 get tampered. The older books don't. That's a shout out to even Archaics bringing that out and really diving deep on chronological stuff with that, with history, and then how that's connected to the older books and telling stories, right? But anyways, let's get into this. Let's get into sharing the screen. Yes. We're going to go in on this. Yes, we are. We are going to talk about a tribe called the Kalash tribe, an Indo-European tribe from over near the Pakistan, and how the Pakistan, right, Kalash tribe. It's an Indo-European tribe, right? Indo-Aryan, indigenous people residing, notice indigenous, near a province, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or I can't pronounce that, don't want to dance all over it. It's a tribal group, and with their history, and I'm looking to see if they have any good pictures on this side with them, because there's some interesting pictures when you start seeing this group. It's definitely some their customs, their festivals, and if you go down here, you see they were definitely considered Pakistan's smallest ethno-religious group, a traditional practice. Authors categorize a form of animism. During the mid-20th century, attempt was made to force them and their villages into Pakistan. They wanted to convert them. Of course they did. That's what that does, right, to Islam. But the people fought the conversion, and once the official pressure was removed, the vast majority resumed the practice of their own religion, and some of their In some, it says, nevertheless, some since converted to Islam despite being shunned by their community having done so. So this for this community was very spiritual and very needed to remain into the trance. They didn't see this religion as having value. I don't blame them. But anyways, they held fast. Many of our indigenous people in other places didn't hold fast and tried, but these people somehow were able to hold fast, had some conversions, but very minimal, it appears. But it did cause a division within their tribe when it says that they shunned them who converted to Islam because a lot of their rituals and stuff related to music and dance. And music and dance in Islam's they would find that very oppressive, right? The vast majority definitely kept their thing going, right? Let me bring this closer so I can control it, or I'm not going to be able to control it. All right, let's go. So, customs. They had customs. They cannot live amongst us anymore. They keep our identity strong. Wow. So with their customs here, I just was kind of reading this. Although there were a large population of non-Muslim minority, has seen its numbers dwindle over the past year. The leader of Kalash, Safullah Jan, has stated, if any Kalash convert, they cannot live amongst us anymore. We keep our identity strong. About 3,000 have converted to Islam or are descendants of converts. We still yet nearby in Kalash villages and maintain their language, many aspects of their ancient cultures, but now sheiks of converts of Islam make up more than half of the Kalash speaking. Oh, that's too bad. But anyways, you say, God, Danny, yeah, it is. It's too bad many of our folks here weren't able to keep their tribal identity fully. But anyways, so this is very interesting. What I like about this is we're going to get more into this. I got another video I'm going to follow up with this. It's going to go really into India more and show you some things and some of the perspectives of even of the religious in Hindu and the government statements. It's going to kind of shock you. But anyways, so when you see this, and they're not the only ones that I have found. These are Indo-European or Iranian independent. The Aryans were able to travel to this area mixed and in many ways set the stage of their, must be honest, set the stage of the culture there. Farming, agriculture, creating different parts of a system within that. Yes, that's what they were doing, and spiritually setting foundations and different things. I got something else for you guys to check out right here, and this is we're gonna watch a little video from my man Robert Zephyr, who I've used a few times, right? Robert Zephyr. So let's kind of watch and see.
The 1990s, the final time just months before her death in 1997, with her most memorable stop along the Chitral district of the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, where she spent some time among the native Aryan tribe known as the Kalash people. Fast forward 25 years, when Prince William and Kate Middleton follow in his mother's footsteps, visiting the foothills of the Hindu Kush mountain range to witness festivities performed by the local people who wore traditional, bright clothing and performed for the royal couple. A cap and shawl traditionally worn by the Kalesha women was gifted to the Duchess, and the residents also gifted an embroidered coat to Prince William, who seemed to enjoy the warm hospitality and culture of the tribe. The Kalash people number around 5,000.
How do celebrities like Justin Bieber and The Rock generate hundreds of millions of dollars? It's actually not what you think.
And are unique to Pakistan, as they have not been converted to Islam, retaining their ancient Aryan traditions, as well as their genetic integrity, which includes a relatively pale skin and a high degree of blonde hair and blue eyes. While it's popular belief that their fair phenotype is a result of Alexander the Great's invasion of the region, Y chromosome and mitochondrial DNA markers provided no support for this false claim made by those that seem unable to grasp that ancient Aryans once ruled Central Asia prior to the conquest of Islam and the racial mixing that ensued thereafter. The Kalash, along with several other tribes, such as the Yazidi, are among the few ancient Aryans that retained their culture, genetics, and traditions. One of their traditions that has received recognition from UNESCO is called the Suri Jagek practice, namely the act of observing the sun, moon, and stars with respect to the local topography. The system is used
which would be an indigenous practice. This is what many everywhere did, as we've said. And then they were called pagans when the very religious in esoteric use that because they know it's based the truth, while they give the masses the exoteric and demonize the esoteric of tribal people, even though they use the practice in the esoteric. But the powers that be will keep it exo to the multitudes, you and I, because for the public, unless you get an esoteric knowledge, which, I did my thing as you're being initiated, right? Let's go.
Predict the appropriate time for sowing seeds, animal husbandry, and natural calamities, as well as to govern the Kalash calendar as well as their rituals. The daily life of this tribe is spent farming and raising livestock, and on certain days they carry out the religious traditions and rituals, which includes lively dancing, drums, and flute music.
Look at those noses. This definitely Aryan noses are definitely.
Kalash people have many unique festivals, one of which is the Gundalak festival, when a strong and privileged teenage boy is sent to the mountains to live with a pet goat for the summer. He's expected to be fat and strong after constantly receiving nutrition from goat's milk. When the festival starts, for 24 hours, he's allowed to have sexual relations with any woman that he wants, even against a married woman or young girls who are still virgins. However, the Kalash people claim to have eradicated this practice in recent years due to social and political pressure from outsiders. During the mid-20th century, an aggressive attempt was made to force a few Kalash villages in Pakistan to convert to Islam, but the people fought the conversion, and once official pressure was removed, the vast majority resumed the practice of their own religion. That said, some Kalash have since converted to Islam, which forbids music and dancing, and much of the Kalash community shuns the Muslim converts, whose religion is seen as suppressive and foreign, the same way it's perceived by many Iranians, who themselves share an Indo-European or Aryan ancestry, but were forced under the thumb of an Islamic theocracy.
Man, I'm just having these thoughts and I was really thinking hard about how and I'm going to go back a little bit as you see what happens when you try to have control and power, right? You try to overthrow that which is theirs, their culture, who they are, and stuff. But how they would try to overthrow, they even backed off because outside from the ritual what they do with the young boys into man, right? The young boys into man, and you hear my phone ringing real quick. Gosh darn it, I should have had it over here, but ignore it on this. Let it just ring. But anyways, how they said they stopped that ritual that was given to the man, right? They stopped it. They stopped that ritual that was given to the young boys about choosing any women to have sex with them, right? To choose them. and they couldn't do it from outside interference, which sounds logical to a lot of us. But I know as far as Islam goes outside of them, these guys marry 9-year-old girls. Come on now. Inconsistencies from the outside, because to me the outside would be them who always want to come right, but they'll marry 9-year-old girls and have sex with them. What? What would they say about this is a ritual when what do they do? But anyways, listen. I just was thinking about that, how you get things going and you see the inconsistencies of things, right? You just really do. I'll keep playing while I go check my phone and turn it down.
Whose imams and political leaders are accused of corruption given their absolute and totalitarian power over the people. The Kalash culture shares affinities with some of the ancient Aryan Hindu practices, certain Sufi sects, and tribes in Afghanistan, all of whom revere the swastika, which was an ancient Aryan symbol that recognized cycles in nature, fertility, and spiritual immortality. For ancient agricultural civilizations, mythology, and religion reflected a cyclical process of life, death, and rebirth in a repeating, revolving pattern where life and death are not seen as opposites, but both part of the same revolving wheel, 2 points on one rotating circle. This philosophical concept is symbolically represented in the yin and yang, which is not a straight line with a left side and a right side, but a circle that repeats harmoniously, in balance, that never starts or stops. Much like the swastika symbol, which has been disseminated all around the world by the earliest agricultural civilization of the Holocene, who are remembered in some of the oldest known literature as Aryan, such as the Hindu Vedas, or as a self-designation in the pre-Christian cuneiform stone reliefs of Mesopotamia, particularly in Iran. The ancient Aryan religion.
I think I'm gonna start cutting carbs. I need to drop my belly fat.
Real quick.
If you want to drop this,
is no longer practiced in its original form, which at one time inspired ancient Tibetan and Buddhist traditions, but now can also be seen under the veneer of many modern faiths, particularly those that have a deity that dies and is resurrected, such as Christianity, which is one reason why the cross was so readily embraced as a symbol of the new Roman faith, replacing the already revered swastika, which held a symbolic esoteric meaning. Other pre-Christian examples of a deity that dies and is resurrected is Osiris and Horus, Dionysus, who's also reborn, Inanna, who's a goddess archetype from ancient Sumer that is stripped naked, impaled, then resurrected after 3 days. Adonis, who is resurrected by Zeus following his early death. Romulus, who experiences death and returns to life. And Moloch, which I covered in a prior video and equated to Saturn, which is considered a dark, nocturnal aspect of the sun, celebrated at the end of the year, called Saturnalia in ancient Rome, right before the sun is reborn following the winter solstice. So in this context, life is not the opposite of death. The opposite of death is birth. Life has no opposite. That said, life is celebrated by the Kadesh people, who in contrast to the surrounding Pakistani culture, do not generally separate males and females or frown on contact between the sexes. There are some exceptions, however. For example, during a woman's menstrual cycle or pregnancy, when females take some time away from the community in special housing, but return once they regain their, quote, purity. There's also a ritual restoring purity to a woman after childbirth, which must be performed before a woman can return to her husband. Girls are initiated into womanhood at an early age of 4 or 5 and married at 14 or 15. If a woman wants to change husbands, she'll write a letter to her prospective husband informing him of how much her current husband paid for her. This is because the new husband must pay double if he wants her.
Double for his trouble?
The historical religious practices of neighboring semi-Aryan tribes are similar to those of the Kalash people in that they ate meat, drank alcohol, and had shamans, as well as a strict code of intermarrying within the community in an effort to maintain their genetics and purity of their ancient bloodlines. Horses, goats, and sheep were traditionally sacrificed. Wine is considered a sacred drink used during rituals and festivals, and one's purity is revered. Robert Sepper. I'm an anthropologist. My published work is available on Amazon and through all other major book outlets. If you'd like to support my work, you can do that through patreon.com.
I will definitely X out of here and here, and we'll go back. All right. How do you like? What I find interesting is because I know we've been being pushed that everybody came from one place out of Africa, but the truth of what's being found in the DNA is not true. It's not true. People were here. They came dispersed different places. You start reading everything by one book. Pushing an agenda, that's the measuring stick. What agenda are you pushing? Because usually when agenda's pushed, to push an agenda means you're going to have to sacrifice truth because you're pushing an agenda. And those who are seeing that the DNA shows something different, it's much I really appreciate it. It's very powerful when you really start looking at it. And that's the truth we're coming to. And then I start seeing, because certain things were said to me, even in the conscious community, about certain group of people as being this or that. And then when I find these truths, I realize that you ain't. And I had my doubts about some of it. I was like, something just doesn't hit right. It's almost trying to find another way to be against somebody else or racist. It's just like reversing it. But anyways, I think we all are connected. I know we are all connected, but a lot of what we're propagated isn't going to give us the facts that we need to see how things are, right? Really are. So it makes sense to me. A lot of the other things that came from other places that are ancient, even ancient books, to the one that we're kind of given that we need to go by spiritually, where that came from, how that came, and how certain people are given the certain terms or values, just starts not making sense when you're seeking truth. So very interesting, though, this tribal group of that Indo-European connection and how that goes. I'm going to hit you with another one. This was from India. Yeah, definitely very, very powerful. And we're going to talk about that too. So you guys have a great day. This was about the Kalash tribe in Pakistan.